In case you didn't know it, games journalism is in a full-on collapse. It's been in free fall for years, and at this point in time, well, in fact, a little bit earlier this year, Grums pointed out, I guess he got this sourced from Jason Schreier, of all people, but there are only about 24 people left in games journalism. There are no jobs to recruit for. Boss of Games, Lost Skies boss, calls out games journalists for only carrying water for big AAA games and never covering smaller games until there are layoffs or drama. Well, yeah, exactly. Whenever an indie game is an outright success, the only way that they'll talk about it, Black Myth Wukong, Pal World, Helldivers 2, is that whenever there is a gigantic controversy around it, whether it's cooked up, especially in the case of Black Myth Wukong, or not. Outside of that, though, they're just simply carrying the water of Dragon Age the Veilguard, Assassin's Creed Shadows, Avowed. They're writing more words for any of those projects than there are concurrent players on Steam for any one of them. So yeah, that dude's right. Jason Schreier responds, admitting that there are less than 24 people left in all of games journalism, and that their focus is on writing guides. Where, yeah, you go ahead and you take a look at Kotaku, IGN, GameSpot, any of those places, decided to just really slapdash slop articles. What is the vast majority of their content? New games, where to pick up skins, where to pick up, different rare drops and whatever the popular game is right now. There's no journalism to be had. And you know what? I'm not shedding one single tear, because this is an industry that very much created its collapse for itself. Case and goddamn point. Game Informer, a few years back, okay, it used to be that slop magazine that was right up there at the register of EB Games or GameStop, wherever you shopped at, depending on your location. But at the tail end of March, they announced that, hey guys, we're going to be coming back. It's going to be great. We're going to be bringing back all of the original staff, and we're just going to get real back to basics. We're going to have a physical, we know how much you cave-dwelling chuds, gamers, you guys really love physical stuff, so we're going to be doing a physical magazine. But as Smash JT points out, yeah, it's really suspicious, mostly because you take a look at the people that they're bringing back, and yeah, guess what? They all have terminal cases of TDS, and they were a big reason to why Game Informer imploded to begin with, because they were more interested in pushing politics as opposed to telling and conveying interesting gaming news. So you continue to bring these people back and you reward their bad behavior. Why do you think that would be viable? I briefly covered the situation in previous live stream, but yes, in digging deeper, okay, Game Informer, the once legendary gaming magazine spanning 3 decades of publication, has been floundering for years, leading to the ultimate collapse of traditional media until finally last year in 2024. At the time, parent company GameStop all of a sudden just abruptly shut them down, so the news broke that they were being acquired and revived. Many folks were confused and excited until they looked at exactly who was behind it. Gunzilla Games is a relatively new development studio founded in 2020 that has a very suspicious funding history. Despite being unproven in terms of successful game launches, literally 0 games have actually launched, no big shock, the company is somehow operating in 3 high-cost cities, Frankfurt, London, and Kiev. Right, interesting. Employing a high-profile creative team, including Hollywood director Neil Blomkamp. Interesting. Supposedly developing a AAA game off the grid with ambitions apparently rivaling Cyberpunk 2077. Now acquiring Game Informer, a once major media outlet. Gunzilla Games has received investment from multiple sources that raise serious red flags. Republic Capital, a New York-based venture capital firm, invests in blockchain projects and Web3 infrastructure. Okay, Griffin Gaming Partners, a major venture capital firm that invested in Gunzilla. Immutable and Avalanche Partnerships built the Avalanche blockchain, and Ukrainian tech incentives. Oh, interesting. Any of that stuff, you already know that it's sus. But I have a sneaking suspicion that this is, oh boy, it's going to be a lot like that G4 reboot that didn't even last the year before it ended up getting shut down. Because yeah, if you're just going to come back and be a slop factory like IGN or GameStop GameSpot, it's just so close a naming convention. I don't know why that didn't fail, but no, at a point in time where trust in the gaming media has never been lower, coming back right now, to just try to pump your AAA game, that's a little interesting that you're doing that, but it also shows that the viability of games journalism, it simply resides in independent media. It resides outside of the corporate establishment because there's no trust there. There's no trust because you've earned that lack of trust with, your shady dealings behind the scenes as exposed with the new rebooted games or Game Informer, or the individual quote-unquote journalists themselves, like the one and only Alyssa Mercante, who once again finds herself in the headlines about a year after her expiration date, but now we're starting to find some very funny contradictions in her own story and just showing what kind of a scumbag she really is. Like, over the past year, she has really much laid that out bare for the world to see. That and many other things, depending on how likely you are to part with, what, $5 a month or something like that. She's a professional admitted whore, so I'm not telling any tales out of class. But she's exposing private information of prominent YouTubers in an amended lawsuit complaint against Smash JT. What do they have to do with anything? Just people simply commenting on her atrocious behavior? They deserve to get doxxed? Like, what a piece of shit. In late 2024, former Kotaku senior editor Alyssa Mercante filed a lawsuit against YouTube personality Smash JT in the United States District Court of Eastern District of New York, represented by attorney Ron Coleman of the Coleman Law Firm. Smash JT filed a motion to dismiss the original complaint, asserting that the statements at issue were either protected under the First Amendment as satire, hyperbole, opinion, or lacked the specificity required to qualify as an actionable defamation under New York and California law. Coleman also pointed out the Mercante Smash JT lawsuit was filed in New York. Yes, in his motion to dismiss, he challenged the court's authority to hear the case, arguing that Smash JT, who resides in California and operates his platform from that state, does not have sufficient ties to New York to warrant jurisdiction. He maintained that merely posting online content accessible in New York does not establish any kind of direct, intentional conduct towards the state required under jurisdictional law. Coleman's response additionally emphasized that the statements, such as "she sucks, wiener for bus money and then walks home," while vulgar and crude, were expressions of opinion, not verifiable factual claims. Even though she has, labeled herself and touted her sex work, I mean, I think that it's a fairly reasonable conclusion to hop to. The defense argued that Mercante herself had posted jokes on social media, yes, which referenced similar language, and that Tarzia's comments fell well within the realm of protected speech. And so, getting into the doxing here for whatever reason, on April 18th, 2025, Mercante submitted the first amended complaint to the U.S. District Court to the Eastern District of New York for her lawsuit against Smash JT. The amended filing expands the scope of structure of the original 37-page complaint, doubling its length to 79 pages. Why? The FAC retains the original legal claims, including defamation, intentional infliction of emotional distress, tortious interference with contract, the bias-related harassment under the New York civil rights law, but significantly increases the volume of allegations, references, and exhibits intended to support the overall narrative of harm. Much of the expansion involves additional screenshots, commentary on YouTube content, and alleged examples of coordinated harassment. The filing also seeks to reinforce jurisdiction by documenting connections between the defendant, Jeff Tarzia, and New York-based platforms, web services, and collaborators. Fucking why? So yeah, jumping ahead a little bit. While the original complaint claims Mercante was forced out of Kotaku and that her contract bought out due to Tarzia's conduct, the FAC expands on the timeline and introduces more direct language accusing Tarzia of being the proximate cause of her termination. But yeah, and then that also is refuted by her own statement when she said that she was leaving Kotaku ahead of the announced layoffs. Yeah, the decision was made before the layoffs, but now I am even more glad I made it. Interesting. But you're trying to say that Smash was the one that got you fired. Right. And the amended complaint reiterates the accusations that Smash JT engaged in or encouraged doxing behavior, defined here in the public dissemination of private or identifying information. I didn't, but okay. And expanding on this claim, the amended complaint introduces additional content creators who are not listed as defendants, but are described as part of the broader online ecosystem allegedly contributing to the harassment campaign. So these individuals, identified in the filing by both their real names and their online monikers, along with additional information regarding where they live. Why do you need this stuff? But it includes a Toasty with the Mosty, Rev says Desu, 8-Bit Eric, and Montradukes. I've heard of two of those before. Rev says Desu, like, his content is all over YouTube. Good for him for, cracking the algorithm. And 8-Bit Eric, I've seen him pop up a couple of different times. But yeah, unfortunately, I can't say either way about the other two guys. But yeah, from what I've seen from those, from the two names that I remember, shout out to them. But I don't know how they end up playing into this stuff, because they are but, just a small number of people who have talked about the implosion of Alyssa Mercante, how she was simping really hard for Sweet Baby Inc., how she was, infiltrating Discord groups, trying to get slanderous material to get people fired and intimidate them out of them losing their job, only to see her pick fights with people and then back down from those and call everybody that she hates, chuds and Nazis and whatever the hell else she wants to, only for her to lose her job and then to start streaming on Twitch to dozens of sycophants. Like, it's quite impressive how you can blame everybody else except for yourself, but hey, we're here. According to the complaint, these creators frequently publish content that mirrored Tarzia's language, themes, and timing, allegedly amplifying negative attention towards Mercante. The filing stops short of alleging direct wrongdoing by these individuals, but implies their coverage further intensifies the harassment environment. One additional figure mentioned in the complaint is YouTuber known as Hypnotic. While also not named as a defendant, the amended filing goes into unusual detailing in attempting to establish Hypnotic's location. It references shipping labels from Amazon packages visible in the manga unboxing videos that he claims he resides in a specific area. The complaint argues that the geographic tie supports jurisdictional claims against Tarzia, who have collaborated with Hypnotic in the past. That is very intensely strange, and it just goes to show you, now lawsuits like this and underhanded tactics like this from quote-unquote games journalists is a big reason why nobody takes these freaks seriously, and that they're not out here to help the overall gaming ecosystem, that they're out here to get theirs and fuck everybody else who stands in the way. So that's why the industry has totally collapsed. It's because they employ clowns like Mercante, and outlets like Kotaku continue to exist, at least for a little while longer. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.